to another video on the channel. I hope everybody's enjoying the Miami Open. The men's and women's lineups are fantastic. I will be recording a men's video previewing and predicting the semi-finals that I think will start tomorrow night. But this one's going to be all about the women's draw and the women's semi-finals. We've got an unbelievable lineup. Same as the quarterfinals, could very easily be a Grand Slam semi-final lineup. We have Ashley Barty up against Elena Svitolina and Bianca Andreescu against Maria Sakkari. So two brilliant matches, fantastic matchup stylistically. And I'm just going to talk about those four players and who I think will come through and meet in the final. So kicking things off with Barty against Svitolina. And I think Ashley Barty is going to be incredibly difficult to beat in her current form under these circumstances and how the surface is playing. You know, pretty slow I feel in Miami, heavy conditions, and I think that suits Ashley Barty perfectly. She's playing really into form. She's won 13 consecutive matches in Miami, I believe, which is a fantastic record, and she's playing some stunning tennis this week. Came through a very tough match against Serena Sabalenka the other day, which I did predict. I just felt like the craft, the consistency, the variety on the backhand of Barty would unravel Sabalenka and force errors, which was what happened. I thought the rallies were extended longer than what they would have been at the Australian Open, and that certainly suits a player of Barty's class and poise. Undoubtedly one of the best technical players on the women's tour, and that certainly showed in their quarter-final match. I think Sabalenka done incredibly well. Continue to try and fire winners and break down the defence of Ashley Barty, and I think the match would have been even more interesting had Sabalenka not suffered with that injury at the back end of the third set. That was disappointing to see. Definitely hindered her movement and defence, and that allowed Ashley Barty to progress to the semi-final. But I just feel like with Barty's all-round game and consistency, if she can continue to serve and return well, as she has done so far this tournament, then I do think it's going to be difficult for someone to beat her in these conditions. Moving on to Elena Svitolina, who I've always been a massive fan of Elena Svitolina's, and I think she is a future top three player. I think if Svitolina can get one major win, then she could go on a run. I think her mentality in big matches has sort of been questioned in the past. You know, has she been aggressive enough on the big points? Has she turned up in the semi-finals, in quarter-finals in the past and really believed that she can win? I'm not so sure personally, but I think the talent is certainly there. She's got all the shots in the book. She's technically fantastic, similar to her opponent Ashley Barty. And if Svitolina can come through and win this tournament, then it would be a fantastic preparation for her confidence and overall tennis going into that clay court season. So Svitolina came through in straight sets against Sevastova, which was expected. They traded breaks very early in that match, but I think Svitolina just returned very well. She took 6 out of 7 break points, which again is fantastic for her mentality. And I was interested to see with Svitolina that she was more aggressive on those break points and on closing out games. She was more aggressive, hit 17 winners, which is more than what Svitolina usually hits. She's usually a baseline player, sticks behind the baseline, defends, uses variety, grinds out points. But I think Svitolina's power and precision is often underappreciated and a weapon that she doesn't use enough. I think Svitolina on the front foot, coming into the court, looking to volley, looking to finish points is very good. And I think if Svitolina can find the perfect balance between attack and defence, then she can become a better player for that. And I think she's just a couple of big wins away, particularly at majors, of becoming a top 3 women's player and a Grand Slam champion. But in this match, I think it's going to be incredibly tight. I think we'll go to 3 sets. The match will come down to who takes the break points, who serves better on the day. I think Svitolina comes into this match in fantastic form, having come through a 3-setter in this tournament, having won 6 out of 7 break points against Sevastova. But I just think the variety on the Barty backhand cannot be overlooked. The consistency of Barty, her incredible net play, which has seen her win doubles titles, the serving of Ashley Barty, which can be immense on its day and bring about lots of aces. I am going to have to go with Ashley Barty because, as I mentioned, I think she's going to be very difficult to beat in Miami this week, given the conditions and the way she's playing. So I'm going to go with Ashley Barty to come through against Svitolina in 3 sets. Now, moving on to Bianca Andreescu against Maria Sakkari. And Bianca Andreescu is a player that I'm a huge, huge fan of. And I'm just delighted that she's back lighting up the court. And it's undoubtedly her most impressive and best results at a tournament since that knee injury, which is fantastic to see. You know, Andreescu's beaten Muguruza this week. She beaten Sara Sorribes Tormo, both in 3 sets, which is massively important. Shows that she's getting that rhythm back. She's getting that fight back. The heart, the ability to go deep and win the big points and win deciding sets, which is massively important, and the difference between her being a champion and not. And whatever happens now this week, if she does lose in the semi-final to Maria Sakkari, I think Andreescu's had a massively positive week in her recovery, and should continue to go on and have a brilliant and successful 2021. But I've been really impressed with Andreescu, and the match against Sara Sorribes Tormo was demanding, but I think a brilliant win for Andreescu in many different ways. I think Sorribes Tormo definitely presented the problems that I thought she would. You know, the switches up in pace, she gets a lot of balls back, she forces you to play well. You can make lots of enforced errors against Sorribes Tormo, which can be frustrating. But I think overall Andreescu dealt well with that. I think I predicted in my preview that the overall power and the consistency of the ground strokes and the ability to hit winners in a row would get Andreescu through that one in 3 sets, which is what happened. But I was again impressed by Sorribes Tormo. You know, the fight, determination, the variety, the defence that she's got is incredible, and it takes a special and very good performance on a slow hard court to win. So I think for Andreescu to come through that one in a tough 3 set match was very, very positive, particularly when you consider how long she's been out of the game. So yeah, a massively confidence boosting and good performance from Andreescu. Moving on to Maria Sakkari against Naomi Osaka, and this was the only prediction I got wrong. I did fancy Osaka to come through this one, but it was a very strange and disappointing and lacklustre performance from Osaka. I think her first serve hasn't been very good at all since the US Open, probably. The Australian Open, her first serve was very poor, averaging around 50%, but she still managed to come through and win that tournament, which shows you just how well and, you know, Osaka's ground strokes, how good they are, how good of ability she's got to produce the best in the biggest moments. But she just didn't turn up last night, Naomi Osaka. Her serve was very poor from the off, and all credit to Maria Sakkari, who took huge advantage of that, returned impeccably well, took her chances, wasn't fearful of Osaka, you know, got on the front foot, looked to be aggressive. And I just think Osaka looked a little bit passive at times, looked to extend rallies, but that's not really the, you know, the why Osaka's got to world number 2 and why she's won those 4 Grand Slams. That's not Osaka at her best. Looking to extend rallies, we like to see Osaka inside the baseline, firing forehands and double-handed backhands. But it just wasn't there last night. I think Osaka is quite reliant on her first serve on these slow hard courts, you know, to get the opponent moving out wide, open up the court for that forehand, look to get the early putaways. When Osaka doesn't serve well, and she does have to extend the rallies, then as I say, I think up against a ball striker like Sakkari, who was on the form she was on last night, the match is only going to go one way. And yeah, it was a brilliant, brilliant performance from Sakkari. I think it's important not to focus too much on the disappointment of Osaka, and also just to focus on how good Sakkari was against the world number 2. You know, to come out and serve and return like she did, fire the ground strokes consistently and hit winners was a special performance. And she's always had that ability, Sakkari. I've been critical of her in the past because I know how good she can be. I've seen her in matches where she's been too passive and just made the game too complicated. I think Sakkari is a player that if she keeps it simple and just plays to her strengths, then she's capable of beating anybody in the world. So this match again is incredibly tough to predict. Andreescu against Sakkari will be a real firefight. Lots and lots of winners and aces. I am going to just predict Andreescu to come through this one. I think she's somewhere near back to her best. She's had 2 fantastic 3-set wins. As long as she's recovered physically, then I do think she'll come through. Sakkari, due to Andreescu having a little bit more variety and a better defence. And we have seen vulnerabilities from Sakkari in the past in semi-finals and finals. She hasn't quite produced the best. She's unravelled pretty quickly. She's been tentative in stages, which is when Sakkari struggles. But you know, if Sakkari can take confidence from last night's win and come out and get a good start and start finding the serve and returning the Andreescu serve with power and precision and depth, then she's quite capable of taking this match as well. But I am just going to go with Andreescu because I'm a huge fan of hers and I've been mightily impressed with her so far this week. So I'm going to predict Ashley Barty and Bianca Andreescu to meet in the final after winning deciding sets. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching another video. Please leave a comment with your predictions for the semi-finals. As I said, I will be bringing out a men's semi-final preview and prediction video as well tomorrow. Very much looking forward to the conclusion of both tournaments. Please drop a like in the video and a subscription. That will be much appreciated, and I will see you on the next one.